So contingent offers are back right now in this real estate market. What in the world does that really mean? What is a contingent offer? What does that mean for you? Should you buy with a contingency? Should you accept a contingent offer? Well, we're going to cover all that here in this particular video, guys. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Let's get into it. Hey guys, how you doing? I am Sascha Chatman. I am the team leader of Chatman Realty Group. I'm a 3-time EXP Icon agent, and today we are talking about contingency offers. They are back. I seriously thought they might not even come back here in 2023, but the real estate market is dictating that they are back again. So let's jump into it. We're going to cover this video in a couple ways, guys. We're going to talk about exactly what is a contingency offer. Should you use one as a buyer? Should you accept one as a seller? What does it mean if a contingency fails? And then last, we're going to get into and talk about builders and contingencies and how this whole thing works. So let's jump all the way into it. All right, guys. So first things first, a contingency is really just this. A buyer is buying a home, but they actually have a contingency on the contract, meaning that they can get out the contract if this particular stipulation is not met. So is it wise for you as a seller to take on a buyer's contingency? And is it wise for you as a buyer to use a contingency? The short answer is yes. Why? Because it's really needed inside the real estate market. We've always had contingencies, but what we saw during COVID is that no one was accepting them. And no one was accepting them because they didn't have to. Well, in order to list and sell your home, you might have to take on an offer that is contingent. So let's just kind of cut into this whole thing. First with the buyers. As a buyer, you want to make sure that you have some type of protection around buying a home. The most likely contingency that we see out here right now is you have a house to sell in order to buy the new home, meaning that the purchase of your home is contingent upon the sale of your old home, right? And in this real estate market, that can be some stuff. That can be difficult if your house is not selling or your house is just sitting there. But I absolutely get it. You do not want to be on the hook for buying a house and then still having a house. So you want to make sure you have a contingency that takes care of you, right? It is the most likely contingency that we see. Now, obviously, guys, we do have contingency around finances. That's automatically built into most states' contract that you have to get through the pre-approval process and whatnot. Make sure you have a good conversation with your lender and your real estate agent to understand the rules that's within your contract and what financial contingencies you have to abide by. Typically goes with how many days you have to make sure that your loan is going to go through. For us here in Texas, we have one called the third-party financing addendum, which means that you only have so many days that we put in the contract as your agent to make sure that your loan is going to be approved through finances. So make sure you're asking these questions as well around finances contingencies. Now, back when it comes to you as buying a house with that contingency, here's the deal. You need to make sure your agent understands that you want to have your house sold first. In fact, you want to make sure your agent and your lender understand and have a clear understanding, do you have to have your home sold in order to buy a home? You should not be out there home shopping if you have to sell your house first without having this understanding. If you do not have the understanding and you own a home, make sure you have that conversation with your lender that your house has to either be sold or leased out or whatever it may be in order to buy a home. We don't want to see you guys out there under contract and not have that understanding. That's a bad place to be. You don't want to be there, okay? Now, how does this work? There's a document that we have here in Texas, and most states are going to have, so make sure you have this conversation with your real estate agent. But there is a document that we have that has to be filled out, says that your house needs to be sold by X date, okay, in order to stay in what we call the first position, right? So what does that really mean? Well, you have rights on buying that particular property, but if your house is not sold by the date that's put in that contract, that means the seller can move on and take a backup offer or move on to someone else, right? That's what the contingency is going to state. Now, what happens with that? This is a very interesting question. If you have that date in there and your house is not sold by that date, that seller absolutely can move on. Or you can waive the contingency, meaning that you roll the dice and you say you're going to buy the house anyway. Now, you may know that you have to have that house sold in order to buy the house, but you're counting that you got the bomb.com real estate agent and they're going to get their house sold for you, and you're willing to roll the dice and buy the property. Now, I know what you're saying. Why in the hell would I do that? I can't answer that for you, but I do know that people do it all the time. Would I do it? No. But people do it all the time. I have seen people who want a house so bad, and that house means everything to them, that they're willing to roll the dice and actually do it. And I've actually done it with some of my clients before. And I advise them what they need to know. If this doesn't get done, this is what we're looking at, that you're in breach of contract and you have to buy this property. Okay? So that is clearly your choice. You need to be able to make an informed decision. But understand, if you waive your contingency, it means a couple things. Number one, you're going to lose your earnest money if you can't buy that property. Please understand that. And what happens here for us here in Texas, you have to deposit even more money in to waive your contingency. Okay? So let's say you put up $5,000 for the home, and now you have to put up another $1,000 or $2,000 or so, whatever that number is. It's negotiated, right, in order to waive the contingency. Now you're $7,000 in. You better make sure your agent can sell that house. You better make sure the house is priced appropriately, and you better make sure that the house is presented in a way that it can move. Okay? Now, if you're a seller, should you accept a contingent offer? That is a great question. I can't tell you yes or no, but I do know a lot of sellers are accepting contingent offers. I'm very comfortable with advising my clients to do a contingent offer based off a few things. Let's go here. Okay, number one, let's look at the financing of the individual who wants to buy the property. Let's make sure we have a good understanding of them, if they can actually buy your property, how strong is their financing, and where they are with selling their home. If the house is not on the market, I'm not comfortable advising my client to do that. The house needs to be on the market with a good real estate agent that has a great reputation and has a track record of selling. That's something that I need to see, and I would go look into that for you. Okay? Number two, I also want to make sure that that house is priced appropriately. If the house is overpriced, why would I tell you to go ahead and take that contingent offer? I want to make sure it's something that I would actually list it at that makes sense to me financially, and that they actually have a good plan. So what I am going to do as your real estate agent is have a really good conversation with the other agent, make sure I can understand what they're doing to actually sell the property. Is it listed appropriately, priced appropriately? Is it actually going to be marketed appropriately? If they are stumbling over those questions, my job is to educate you. So these are the questions that you should be asking your real estate agent who's listing your home. Have they done their homework to be able to appropriately advise you that taking this contingent offer makes sense? Now that you accepted the contingent offer, we want to make sure that they're going to perform and you have some protection. So what do we need to do? We want to make sure that you're protected within the contingency document, meaning that we're going to ask them to have the house sold by a particular time and date. Now, if they have the house sold by that particular time and date, then we're all good. But I want to make sure within the contract that your agent has for you that you can get out of the contract and move on to the next buyer if it's not sold by that time, okay? And that they have to waive their contingency for you in order to stay in the first position by depositing a good amount of money so they're not wasting your time. This is how we make sure that the individuals are going to be serious about this. Here's the reality. Your real estate agent should still be marketing your home to make sure that they're going to be finding you another buyer just in case, to make a backup offer for the home. It's very good to take a backup offer in a contingency situation. We've done this, and so what happens with that is that if the house is not sold within the first individual, the second individual will then take over and move forward and buy your property. So it's like a backup plan for the backup plan, okay? So what happens when a contingency fails? If they do not sell their property within the time period, what's going to happen at that point? Well, you're going to terminate contract with them, and you're going to go with either your backup offer or you go back active on the market. Those are your options that you're moving forward from that perspective. This is why it's important, if you take a contingency offer, that you go ahead and continue to market your house to find a backup offer so you can keep moving forward for your home. All right. Now let's talk about builders and contingencies. Will a builder take a contingent offer? It depends. I told you I was going to say it a couple of times. It depends on which builder we're talking about and what's going on with the house that needs to be sold. Builders will take contingencies. Some will, some won't. All right. Now, let's say the builder will. What are they going to ask for? A, they're going to ask for comps on the property, which you should be looking at. They're going to also be looking at, is the house listed? Who's listing the house? What is that agent's track record? This is why it's super important to make sure that your real estate agent is a good real estate agent, because they will be looking at who is selling that house in order to feel comfortable to take that contingency on the property. Okay, so once they look at it and see what the house is going to be sold for, the comps on the property, and that your agent has it on market, they may accept your contingency at that point in time. There's also builders that won't take a contingency until you get to a certain point on your home, meaning that the house is under contract and in the pending status. Then they will allow you to contract on the property. So here's what's really important. If the builder is doing that, you need to make sure you understand the timing within your contract, and your real estate agent understands that timing as well. That your house that you're buying is going to be ready on X date, okay? And the house that you're selling is going to be sold by Y date. Is there a big gap between those two? If there is, you might need to get a lease back in your property to make sure you're not going from your home to a hotel to a new home. That's a lot of moving. That's very complicated. So make sure you have that understanding with your real estate agent before you start executing these contracts, okay? So that's it in a nutshell, guys. That's the contingency process. So when you are buying a home and you still have a house you need to sell, or you're accepting contract on your house knowing that your buyer has a house they need to sell as well. Bottom line is this. Get a really good real estate agent who knows what they're doing, has a great reputation in the market, knows how to list your house, and knows how to work with builders and others to contract for you. It is very common for you to buy a house while having a house to sell and have a contingency to protect you. You want to make sure you're protected, and if you're on the listing side and you're selling your house, you want to make sure you understand that so you have protection as well. This is a give and take situation, so your real estate agent is going to be key and pivotal in getting this done. So if you're thinking about putting your house on the market, guys, and you need a good real estate agent, hey, let me know. I have people all around the nation that can help you out. If I'm here locally in your area, I'd love to talk to you about it. But make sure that you are getting a really good team to work for you. I'm Sascha Chatman, team in Chatman Realty Group. Like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, guys. If you have not before, come on, man. Like the channel, subscribe, help us grow. Leave your comments down below. Peace.